So, unfortunately, I talked about this just December or January, I suppose, gone by, and I told you about my experience having to wait for an ambulance for 4 hours when my father was lying on the ground. A man at 71, an Irish man that worked all his life, paid his way, and he was left to watch for 4 hours, not even to mention then even waiting for a bed in the hospital, he was left to watch for another 2 hours. It's a great country, but again, people can come in and get everything handed to them. It doesn't make much sense, and there's no money. We hear from our local TDs or councillors, there's no money to pay the paramedics. That's the argument here. It's not there's not enough ambulances, there's not enough paramedics, and they won't pay them. But our politicians are getting well paid. So I would suggest to our local councillors, our local TDs, that after this incident they take a big pay cut and the money goes towards paramedics. But none of them will do that, unfortunately. But anyway, to the topic at hand. So this was just down the road from me. This was at a match yesterday in the GA pitch here in Boulders Bridge. A player broke his leg, and I can't imagine, and I'm sure anybody can imagine the pain, literally having to wait on a stretcher for 2 hours, and then the people from the club had to drive the person to the hospital because the ambulance didn't turn up. It's a sad state of affairs, but also too we have to question, and I think we should look at this too, why there is not civil defence ambulances, or even, I'm not saying only paramedics, but civil defence ambulances, because there is civil defence ambulances in Cavan and across the country too. They probably should be at every game as possible, because obviously we don't have that many civil defence volunteers, but there probably should be some kind of civil defence ambulance there to bring people to the hospital. That should probably be looked at in Cavan too, because there's a lot of players taking cardiac arrests, etc., on the pitches, etc., and dropping dead in the pitches. It doesn't make more sense because it's happening very, very often nowadays compared to years ago. But it's an awful experience, I'm sure, for the people involved. But it's not good enough. It really isn't not good enough that in modern Ireland in 2025. We had to wait 2 hours just for an ambulance, and the ambulance you could have been waiting 5 hours, 6 hours. As I said, my father's case was a severe case. That's what was put down in the ambulance records. That was life threatening severe because the man was 71, had a heart problem, had a multi-sound bypass. Huge medical problems. But still, that 4 hours. That was high priority. 4 hours, just to say. But again, this probably would have been lower priority because it's not life threatening. It's not like the fellow was going to die. But that's in the HSC's mind. Even though every time somebody wings for an ambulance, it's not that they have a sore thumb or something like that. People wing for an ambulance when it's the last resort, when they take the person literally at death's door, or in serious pain. But it's not good enough. It really, really is not good enough. And some of our local councillors were at this, and I would love to know what they're going to do about it, because there's no point yapping on Northern Sound and to the Anglo South. We want some people to be shouted at in the HSE. They should be shouting at the minute. They should be bringing down the Minister for Health here and bringing them in front of the council and absolutely eating her out of it. And bringing the press too, and bringing the public and just shout her down, I suppose. And make little of her, if it makes any sense. Because that's the only way to do it, to embarrass them, pretty much. Because ask them nicely for stuff is not going anywhere. Our councillors and our TDs need to start shouting at them to do something and demanding, not even asking them, demanding that the people of Cavan be looked after. Because our councillors and our TDs in Cavan, unfortunately, a lot of them are too afraid to say boo about it. And they're too afraid to use tough words. They're saying nicey words. There needs to be tough words, because that's the only way to listen to these gone beans in the HSE, the higher up people. I don't blame the paramedics. They're not getting paid enough, and the simple, I think everybody can agree on that. That's the problem here. There's not enough paramedics, and they won't pay them. But the people at the top of the HSE, the CEO of the HSE, getting paid €500,000 a year. Then the Minister for Health 300,000 or something like that. Insane money. And then obviously we don't go into the civil service, the HSE. What I mean by that, the people sitting in offices scratching themselves, they're getting hundreds of thousands a year, while the frontline worker who has to see horrifying stuff, let's be fair. I would hate to be a paramedic to see the trauma they have to go through every day in seeing patients in crime scenes, for example, after being attacked, God forbid, murdered. Awful stuff. It's something that you can't leave home you can't leave it at the door when you go home in the evening. But still, nonetheless, you will pay them. It's the same with our firefighters. It's the same with Garda Síochána. but the people at the top get all the money. It doesn't make any sense. And then we give money to needless stuff. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, unfortunately, as I said in that video in January, nothing ever did change, unfortunately. And it's a sad thing to say, but it's the truth. And unfortunately, nothing probably would change now from this issue either too. And it's unfortunate that, that so many people, because just even taking with this instance, how many people in Cavan, take for example, even just one county, how many people in Cavan could have been saved last year, or even this year, take for example, we're only halfway through the year, how many people could have been saved if the ambulance turned up 10 minutes earlier, 20 minutes earlier, an hour earlier? How many people who died of a heart attack, of a stroke, of other illnesses, if the ambulance got there quicker? Because let's be fair, every minute, say for example somebody goes into cardiac arrest or takes a stroke, every second is crucial. Every second is crucial to get them to the hospital, to get them some care in the back of an ambulance, for people to know what they're doing. Every second is literally crucial. Every second of it. But our politicians don't seem to care. And again, it's not the fact there's no money. I wouldn't mind if we lived in the country there was literally no money whatsoever. There's plenty of money, but we're just throwing it at people that we don't even know that's coming into the country and giving them free money and stuff. It doesn't make any sense. And we won't pay people that's actually doing worthwhile jobs for society, the community. It doesn't make any sense, and you can call that far-right extremists, whatever, but it is the truth. Because why would we be giving people who literally come to the country that we don't know anything about, and we're not giving paramedics as much money? It doesn't make any sense. But it is a sad state of affairs. It really, really is. And I do hope that something changes. Because again, nothing has got better. I wouldn't mind if something got better in some way, shape or form, but nothing has got better. Things have only got worse. But Cavan suffers a lot from this more than nearly any other county, apart from maybe one or two others. But yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. But I do hope this young lad is on the mend, hopefully, please God, sooner rather than later. Because I can't imagine, I'm sure anybody can agree, you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy for somebody to have a broken leg waiting on the ground for an ambulance to turn up. It's evil stuff, evil. But anyway, let me know what you think. Have you ever experienced something like this? Because it has to be talked about, because it could be you, it could be me, any day. It's simple as that. I could take bad in 5 minutes time. Could take a stroke, could take a heart attack. We simply can't predict the future. And it's the same with people watching this video. We simply don't know. And we pay enough tax. I know I do pay enough taxes to the government. It goes down the drain. But you would want to know if something bad happened, God forbid your child, God forbid too, or if you were in a serious accident on the road. You would want to know that an ambulance is within reach, pretty much. That you don't have to wait 6 or 7 hours on the road waiting for an ambulance to turn up. Anyway, hopefully, please God, something does change. But unfortunately, our local politicians or councillors or TDs, the way they're going about it, they have to be a bit more aggressive in terms of looking for this instead of asking. They should be demanding it. And rightly so, the people of Cavan should be literally at their doors saying to them what they're going to do. We don't want any more yap. We want action. But unfortunately, I don't think people will. Thank you.